Hello guys, and welcome back to another Tweaker Man video. I used to run an audio accessories business that I set up in 2006. So before that I'd been making lots and lots of cables. I've been making cables since the year dot, and it got to the stage where my other business was doing quite well, and I thought it was time to set a business up in audio. I mean, audio's been my life ever since I've been 13, 14. And so the easiest thing for me to get into on audio, I mean, I would have loved to have owned an audio, a hi-fi shop, but that was just out of my reach. So, and because I'd had loads of experience in making cables, I thought this is the route I'm going to go down. So I started off making cables. So I started getting my range of cables together. So I had three ranges. I had an entry-level range, I had a mid-level range, and I had a high-end range of cables. Now, in able for you to sell products like this, you really have to get reviews on them, and that's the hardest part. But for some reason that came quite easy to me. So I'm not going to tell you what the name of the business is, because there's magazines involved here, and I don't want to get done for libel. So anyway, there's about five UK hi-fi magazines. So I contacted one of them, and it took me a while, but I was very persistent, and I managed to get them to review one of my cables. Now, it was one of my entry-level cables. I thought I'll start with the entry-level and see how it goes, and it got a fairly good review, actually. It was a very good review. And then I started advertising in these magazines. Now, what you had to do to be able to get reviews in these magazines was to advertise in them. So the first review was a premise that I would advertise with them. So, and then this certain magazine, the first magazine, I landed up getting 3 reviews on the trot. Okay, and then I kept on trying to push them for more reviews all the time, because I was spending a lot of money. So I was advertising at this point, right, in one magazine, and it was costing me £500 a month for a tiny small advert like this. It was very small. And then I'd had about 3 reviews in that magazine, and then I moved on to another one, and I managed to get a couple of reviews in another magazine as well, which I was advertising in. And then the first magazine that I was advertising in give me the reviews. The editor, he rang me up, and he said that we're having a group review of interconnects, analog interconnects. Okay, this was sort of my mid-range cable era, or area, I should say. So so what I did is I posted off the interconnect to him, did a nice pre-burning on it. I mean, this was my top middle interconnects. I'd sold quite a few of them. I had an eBay shop as well, which I sold quite a few of them, and I'm getting really good reviews. And the funny part about it is, just before that review, one of my customers phoned me up. They'd purchased this cable from me, and they said it was so good that they'd sold one of their cables, which he'd bought to try out, and he sold it to replace the cable that won this group review, because my one was so good. And what happened after that? Something what really angered me and really annoyed me. The group review came out with 10 of the interconnects in it, and they never included my interconnects in it. And the conclusion came from that, which I learned afterwards through other people through the industry, that obviously my cable was too good for that review. And because my advert in the magazine was only very small, they didn't want to upset the apple cart by giving me a really good review and winning that group test, because I only had a very small ad in there, when all these other big companies, these are big companies I was up against. There was me, little minnow here, and you know, all the mainstream big companies, and my cable would have wiped the floor with them, and I know it would have done. And I was so angry after that I wasn't included. So I sent this really snotty email to the editor, and after that was it. No reviews again from that. I never got any more reviews after that. They basically shut me out, although I was spending £500 a month with them. So so that was that. Anyway, so I had a couple of reviews in another magazine, which was quite good. And one of the other magazines I was advertising in also, they didn't do reviews, but they did press releases, which was quite good. So I'd send them my latest cable that I'd produced, and they'd do a press release in it, which was good, because I used to get quite a few orders from that. And then I had another magazine that I was really trying to get into. I did the same thing. I constantly hassled the editor until and this went on for ages, and I thought I'd actually given up on that magazine. And then all of a sudden the editor rang me up out of the blue. I was making some cables up, and I get this call out of the blue, and he said, "Ian," he said, "I've been checking your website out." He said, "It's a lovely website. You've got some really nice products on there. It's such and such from such and such magazine." He goes to me. Obviously, he told me the name, but I'm not going to tell you that. And he said, "I want 2 meters of this, 3 meters of that, 1 meter of that." And I thought, blimey, I'm in here. I thought, this is excellent. He said, I'll review all of them, and we'll publish them all in the magazine. But obviously we need some advertising from you as well. So that was another one. I was advertising in that magazine as well. So anyway, so we get I got the first review in there, which was quite good. Again, it wasn't as good as the reviews I was getting from the people I was selling my cables to. Anyway, this certain editor, he said to me, there's a hi-fi show on Heathrow, and he wanted me to meet him there. So I trundled along to the audio show that was on there, with my lanyard on, with my business card in it and everything. And he introduced me to loads of people in the industry. And I remember I went into the cafe there, and I had to take 5 minutes to think, to say to myself, calm down, is this really happening? I thought, blimey, this is going really well. And by the end of it, I had to send off samples to all these different clients, all these different companies that said that they would sell my cables and all that. And and by the end of the day, I think that might have cost me about £4,000 in samples that I'd agreed to send off, which I did. I sent them all off. And what business did I get from it? Absolutely zilch. Now, I was using a company to do my cryogenic treatments, and I remember talking to the guy on the phone, and he goes, "Don't tell me you got drawn in by him, this certain guy." I said, "Well, he seemed very genuine, and he wanted all." He said, "He's an audiophile. They're all audiophiles. All they want is freebies." I couldn't believe it. My bloody mouth fell through the floor at that point, thinking, no. Anyway, the bottom line was, from that experience, is I had one review from that magazine, and then I had a complete moan about it, because I was spending a lot of money on advertising. And then they gave me another review, and then after that, that stopped again. No more reviews. And even though I kept on hassling them for them, I weren't too bad. I mean, I'm sure there's other companies that were really hassling them for them as well. And that was before I started going to the shows myself. And then I did a few shows and sold quite a lot of my cabling through those. So at this point, this must have been around about 2009, and I was spending a hell of a lot of money. And for what I've always run my other business as well, which I still run today. And I'd been running the business about 3 years, and I was seriously down on funds. It was just, money was just flying out of my account, and some of it was borrowed, some of it was the money I had, my own savings and that I'd put into it. And then I started having hi-fi companies come to me and say, do you want to sell our speakers and that? And I was building the website up, and I just started to review a couple of speakers from some companies which I was going to start selling. So in the end, the speakers that I was due to sell on my website never actually materialised due to running out of funds. The company was just losing money constantly. My other company was supporting it, and I was losing serious money. And this went on, and I carried on with it. I gradually started reducing the advertising in the magazines because they weren't giving me the reviews anymore. They're crafty. They pull you in with reviews to start with, and then they gradually wean them away slowly, and then you're still spending vast amounts of money with them. And bearing in mind, you need enabled. I mean, if you look at all the top cable companies, they've all got reviews on there. You look in the magazines, you'll open the magazine up, there'll be a company in there, say Cord or QED, and they'll have 5-star reviews or whatever. And don't get fooled by those, because them cables are only getting those reviews purely because they're spending vast amounts of money with these magazines. And this is why I always say, with like, even with hi-fi equipment, when you go and buy, when you're looking to buy a piece of hi-fi equipment, if you can, obviously not in this COVID time that we've been in for the last year, but you need to really try to listen to it, because I don't always trust reviews from magazines. After my experience of magazine reviews, you do have to go by some reviews, but bearing in mind, these companies that are flogging hi-fi equipment and that get it reviewed in loads of different magazines, so they all tend to give them fairly good reviews. But my experience of hi-fi equipment that's been reviewed, I bought a piece and then thought, oh, it wasn't as good as I thought it was from the review that they give you, even once it was burned in or run in. So in the end, the audio accessories business gradually, because I couldn't afford the advertising in the end, the audio accessories business gradually went down and down, and even me even being able to afford to produce new products, research on them, gradually went down and down. And I think it was in 2011 I had to call it a day. The bank said to me they can't support it any longer, and it was a very sad day. But you know, if I had my time again, I would do it all over again. It was just wonderful. I remember being at the shows and that, people coming up to me and asking me loads of stuff, and I used to have to. I'm dyslexic, so my memory's not always that great, so I had to have everything was done on the computer and all in folders and that, so I had all my stats on the cables and everything else. And I never used to measure cables as such, so you get lots of people that say, what's the measurement on this cable? I don't measure cables, I make them and I listen to them. And I've mentioned this in other videos before, and that's the way that I work out. I have a very good ear for music, and that's the way I work out what cable tends to sound better than others. So you could have one cable that measures absolutely fabulous, but it doesn't always sound as good as something that's different. Now there's reasons for that, and the reasons are it's just the materials that's used. So, you know, as long as you use very good materials, which I always use good materials, and some of the reviews that I had were up against other cables that used inferior materials to mine. So that's why I knew that the review that I was getting wasn't right, wasn't proper. They were not giving me the proper review, and I mean, ultimately in the end I had to shut the business down in 2011 because I basically run out of money and I couldn't do no more. So But yeah, I just thought I'd share this experience with you that I had when I ran my audio accessories business. As I say, if I had my time again, I would do it again. Probably slightly different. I didn't really have the time to. I mean, I was trying to sell the products just through my own website. I didn't really approach other companies or other shops, which I perhaps should have done. Perhaps I should have contacted or approached some of these main chains and to see whether they would be interested in selling my cables. But I never did that, which I regret in a way, because I may have been able to get it off the ground quicker. But you live and you learn, and that's it. So anyway, I think that's about it for this video. So all I've got to say is thanks for watching another Tweaker Man video. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to press that notification bell as well, so you will be notified every time I upload a video. And thanks for watching, guys.